This video is all about the different vocabulary words that you should know about school, which is translated in Filipino. In English, it's school, while in Filipino, it's a paaralan. School, paaralan. In English, it's a teacher, while in Filipino, it's a guro. Teacher, guro. It's a student in English, while in Filipino, it's an estudyante or mag-aaral. Student, estudyante, mag-aaral. It's a classmate in English, while in Filipino, it's a kaklase or kamag-aral. Classmate, kaklase, kamag-aral. In English, it's a head teacher, while in Filipino, it's a punong guro. Head teacher, punong guro. In English and in Filipino, it's both a librarian. Librarian. In English, it's a nurse, while in Filipino, it's a nurse. Nurse, nurse. It's a doctor in English, while in Filipino, it's a doktor. Doctor, doktor. In English, it's a dentist, while in Filipino, it's a dentista. Dentist, dentista. In English, it's an entrance. In Filipino, it's a pasukan. Entrance, pasukan. It's an exit in English, while in Filipino, it's a labasan. Exit, labasan. It's a paper in English, while in Filipino, it's a papel. Paper, papel. In English, it's pencil, while in Filipino, it's lapis. Pencil, lapis. In English, it's a notebook. In Filipino, it can also be a notebook or a kwaderno. Notebook, kwaderno. In English, it's a bag, and in Filipino, it's also a bag. Bag, bag. In English, it's a chalk, while in Filipino, it's a tisa, or it can also be a chalk. Chalk, tisa. It's a crayons in English, while in Filipino, it's your pangkulay. Crayons, pangkulay. In English, it's scissors, while in Filipino, it's gunting. Scissors, gunting. It's your shoes in English, while in Filipino, it's your sapatos. Shoes, sapatos. In English, it's your socks, while in Filipino, it's your medyas. Socks, medyas. In English, it's your homework or your assignment. In Filipino, it can be your takdang aralin or gawaing bahay. Homework, assignment, takdang aralin, gawaing. In English, it's your ruler, while in Filipino, it's your pansukat, or it can also be a ruler. Ruler, pansukat. It's your snack in English, while in Filipino, it's your merienda, or it can also be your snack. Snack, merienda. In English, it's a book, while in Filipino, it's either a libro or an aklat. Book, libro, aklat. It's a globe in English, while in Filipino, it's a globo. Globe, globo. In English, it's a clock, while in Filipino, it's an orasan. Clock, orasan. It's an ink in English, while in Filipino, it's a tinta. Ink, tinta. In English, it's a map, while in Filipino, it's a mapa. Map, mapa. It's an eraser in English, while in Filipino, it's a pambura, or an eraser is also used. Eraser, pambura. In English, it's a table, while in Filipino, it can either be a lamesa or a mesa. Table, lamesa, mesa. In English, it's a chair, while in Filipino, it's an upuan or also chair. Chair, upuan. It's a clinic in English, while in Filipino, it's a klinika. Clinic, klinika. In English, it's a chalkboard or blackboard, while in Filipino, it's a pizarra. It can also be a chalkboard or it can also be a blackboard. Chalkboard, blackboard, pizarra. In English, it's a tape, while in Filipino, it's also a tape, but the spelling is Filipinized. Tape, tape. It's a bus in English, while in Filipino, it's a bus. Bus, bus. In English, it's a glue, while in Filipino, it's your pandikit. Glue, pandikit. It's English, while in Filipino, it's Ingles. English, Ingles. In English, it's math or mathematics, while in Filipino, it's matematika. Math, mathematics, matematika. It's your water in English, while in Filipino, it's tubig. Water, tubig. In English, it's your food, while in Filipino, it's pagkain. Food, pagkain. In English, it's computer, while in Filipino, it's a computer. Computer, computer. In English, it's a library, while in Filipino, it can be a silid-aklatan or also a library. Library, silid-aklatan. It's a comfort room in English, while in Filipino, it's palikuran. Comfort room, palikuran. In English, it's your science, while in Filipino, it's agham or it can also be siyensya. Science, agham, siyensya. In English, it's your breakfast, while in Filipino, it's agahan or almusal. Breakfast, agahan, almusal. It's an answer in English, while in Filipino, it's a sagot. Answer, sagot. In English, it's a question, while in Filipino, it's a tanong. Question, tanong. It's your lunch in English, while in Filipino, it's your tanghalian. Lunch, tanghalian. In English, it's dinner, while in Filipino, it's hapunan. Dinner, hapunan. And that is all about our vocabulary words for school in English and Filipino. If you learned something new from this video, please don't forget to click like, leave a comment, and subscribe. Moreover, you might also want to watch the next video on the screen. Maraming salamat, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.